You're listening to the Talk of the Tribe, Wapsie Valley Warrior Podcast, brought to you by Little Wapsie Communications. Their state-of-the-art fiber network is complete in Fairbanks, ready to serve your home or business with the fastest internet in town. Warren Mutual Telephone Company. Serving the area since 1911, Warren Mutual is a modern, independently owned telephone company providing internet and telephone services to Warren, Iowa, and the surrounding rural area. RTC Communications. They are here to provide high-quality, superior service to you, the customer, by offering great customer service and the services you want and need to work and stay connected with family and friends. This is the Talk of the Tribe podcast, coming to you from the center of Warrior Country. Here are your hosts, Zach Favors and Riker Oberly.
Welcome in to episode 12 of the Talk of the Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Zach Favors, who will not be joined today by my co-host, Riker Oberly. He is out hunting this morning, so we're going to leave him alone. I decided to come in this morning and record one. Because it's not like a big episode where we need him. And I'm not saying we don't need him by any means. I'm just saying that a recap episode can be missed. It's not the biggest deal in the world because we do a lot of them. So, yeah, it's just me today. I tried to get Blake to kind of intern co-host with me. As you know, if he was in our first episode as our special guest all the way back in July or June, I think it was. Kind of seems crazy that we've been doing this for this long now, but I tried to get him on. He hasn't shown up yet, so I'm kind of just gonna roll with it right now. It's currently 7:25 in the morning, Tuesday, September 19th, as of recording. Probably up today, hopefully. I'm going to try to get that up today. But we're going to get right into it. We do have a lot to talk about through the sports world. A lot of stuff happened over the course of the last few nights with, we had volleyball tournament over the weekend. Volleyball played last week against Union at home. We'll talk about that. We had cross-country run 3 times, I believe. Yeah, 3 times, I believe, in the same week of recording. So, yeah, they ran at Starmont, Independence, and Denver last night. And then football played Friday night against North Butler. They will play this Friday at home against... Let's see if I can find this. Uh-oh. Not good. What is this happening? Scrolling through Varsity Bound right now. I'm trying to find it. Oh, are you kidding me? North Tama. That's who it is. Okay, it's North Tama. I kind of figured it was North Tama. I couldn't really remember. I wanted to be sure so I wasn't wrong. I've been called wrong a lot for the last few weeks of doing this. But, yeah, so we're going to get right into it. I want to jump into cross country first. So we're going to go to cross country here. We'll start with the boys. I think that's a good idea. So, right away, Aiden Shannon, he's in the conversation for Talk the Tribe Athlete of the Week. He got first at the Starmont meet, I believe. I don't know how he's done the last 2 meets. I really haven't been able to find much results from that. But just right away, I'm just going to say this right away, he has done phenomenal switching from football to cross country. Yeah, there's not really a stat line here, but it's kind of just the basis of what the event is. The Denver meet, that was last night. Sorry, I'm still recovering from the weekend. I was kind of sick over the weekend. I got what Riker gave me the last week when we recorded. But they run at the Denver golf course, the Willow Run Country Club there in Denver. That is where they run for this race. It's kind of in and around there. There was a student section last night for it, so that's good. You gotta get some support. Like we said, cross country is one of those sports that just doesn't get the love that basketball, volleyball, wrestling, and football get. I mean, obviously here at Wapsie, football is kind of the sport that really takes the spotlight, and you can make conversations for volleyball and basketball too, and maybe even wrestling. I put wrestling in that conversation, but it's One of them's definitely not cross country because it's almost like what Jalen May said. It's just a sport that doesn't get all the media attention that it probably should because it's a sport that deserves love for sure, but it's one that doesn't really get it. And on the girls' side of things, Jalen May, she's a junior. She's really taking the ball and run with it for cross country. She did well last year. Her whole team did well. Ava Van Dale, and a few others. I believe Briley Bellis was on that team as well, but she graduated. So, um, yeah, I mean they're doing well. They're doing really well right now. Obviously, we don't expect first places every time. That's just not going to happen. But they are doing really well as a team collectively right now. And individually, they're doing even better. Aiden Shannon has won the Stormont meet. I, again, can't find the results from the last two meets yet. Jalen May has placed first for the Wapsie girls the last 2 to 3 meets, I think. And overall, their team is just running really well right now. I was gonna say playing. They don't play a sport. They kind of just run. So, yeah, I think overall this team is looking really good. We're getting closer, slowly but surely, to that postseason time for cross country. But as of right now, they're running really well. So, our next sport, volleyball. We're getting to volleyball right now. Let's see if I can find all this stuff here. First, I usually have Riker to kind of fill in, but that's not happening. So they did play last week against Union, um, which that game went to 5 sets, and they were playing a 3A team that was ranked number 5 in Class 3A. So definitely a jump. They had to play against a team that was a class up and a top 5 team in that class. Now, I will say, from what I've heard, inside sources, whatever, it's kind of just Blake. 3A volleyball is a lot easier than 2A volleyball. And if you look at it, yeah, there's a lot of good teams in Class 2A. And not saying that there isn't good teams in Class 3A, because there is good teams in Class 3A, but there are a lot of good teams in Class 2A. Class 2A is probably the hardest class in all volleyball right now in the state of Iowa. And for us to be able to compete at that level, that is a really good sign of what is to come for this team. So they played well. The fifth set was kind of just back and forth, and I said this on the broadcast too. Union is going to be really good at if they get beat the first set, they're going to bounce back the second, and if they get beat in the third, they're going to bounce back in the fourth. And what did they do? It went Wapsie won the first and third sets, Union won the second and fourth, and the fifth. So really, if it would have played it how it would have played the whole night, Wapsie would have won the fifth set. But the fifth set's always a toss-up. You're never gonna know who's gonna win the fifth set. Both teams could be evenly matched. You're never gonna know. And it was honestly kind of a toss-up the whole night, with Wapsie looking really strong the first set. I mean, Union looked like they were on the back heels. They looked like they just weren't ready for it. And Wapsie took advantage. They were just hammering away. And then the second set came around, and that was where Wapsie just lost all momentum. I don't know how, because they went into the second set winning, and they looked like they were just going to blow Union out the water. But then Union did what Union does, and they came back. They won the second set in just, I don't know, good fashion. We'll just say that. 25-18 was the score on that set, I believe. And that was where Wapsie looked really flat. And I said that you cannot have that. You cannot be flat right away. And I bet you Austin Shepard would agree with me, because they looked flat right away, which did not help their cause. But they were able to bounce back in the third. They won the third. They got back to that right away jump, go get them, to getting away from that just start flat and have to play catch up the whole time. So they won the third set. And as I'm sitting up there, I'm like, okay, well, this is an opportunity for us to beat a team that's in a class above and a top 5 team ranked in that class. We gotta win this fourth set here. And shout out to my algebra teacher. She's an assistant coach on the Wapsie Valley volleyball team, Miss Peyton Parker. She predicted that this was going to go to 5. And I said it on the broadcast, but I think I was muted at that time. So if I was, there you go. She predicted it was going to go to 5, and it did. And it was a toss-up going into the 5th. Union had played a really good set again, just caught Wapsie on the back foot, and they had to play catch up the whole time, and they just couldn't catch up. So Union goes into the 5th set, and it's like you never know what's gonna happen because it was really a toss up the whole time. And then on the fly, like I said, I'm not the volleyball guy for sure. Riker's definitely my volleyball guy. When he's not there, I'm kind of just like, okay, well, I'll just throw this together and hope it sounds okay. And I didn't even know that the 5th set only went to 15. I was dead set on it was going to go to 25. I didn't know until we got to the 14-11 that they started yelling game point. And I was like, what? You guys are only at 14. You have like 11 more to go. But no, it only goes to 15th in the 5th set. So now that I know that, be good going forward. So, yeah. Well, hopefully we don't have to get to a 5th set because Wapsie just beat them in 3. So let's just hope that happens. And Wapsie has not played well at home. We'll just say that right now. They're 0-2 at home. Now, they've played probably the 2 best teams that they will ever play on their schedule at home. So, what you gonna do? They played Sumner, who's a really, really good team, and they also played Union, who's a class up and a top 5 ranked team in that class, at home. They have one more home game here in about a month, I think. Yeah, they only have 3 home games this year. That's kind of crazy, but it is what it is, I guess. Wapsie only has 4 for football, but football is a shorter schedule. So, yeah, I think now that we're past the cross-country volleyball talk, we're going to get into some football here. Wapsie Valley went on the road to North Butler up in Green last Friday to take on North Butler, and that game was a good showing for Wapsie. Wapsie did win 19-0, I believe. I'll pull it up just to make sure, but I'm pretty sure we won 19-0. But as we keep going, Wapsie comes back home to play North Tama. And the recap on the North Butler game was that it just seemed really like not there. Because yes, Wapsie did win 19-0, but it didn't feel like they won 19-0. It felt like they won 8-0 because it felt like North Butler was there. They just could never actually put the ball in the end zone. And Wapsie was just able to control kind of how North Butler tried to play. And Wapsie just kind of coasted. And they didn't really need to keep scoring if all it was going to do was... Because they didn't even score in the 4th quarter. They scored 7 in the 1st, 6 in the 2nd, 6 in the 3rd. So they scored 1 time per quarter, and they didn't even score in the 4th. And if I go look at the yards, we didn't even throw the ball. At least it's not loaded in here. It says that Trayton Sauerbrei has 18 attempts for 150 rushing yards with 1 touchdown. No passing stats. No receiving stats because we don't have any passing stats. And then on defense, Tucker Latimer led the team in tackles. 7 tackles, 1 tackle, or half tackle for loss. And he had 1 fumble recovery. So we didn't even throw the ball, apparently. And on the North Butler side, they could never get the run game going. I'll say that. Their starting runner. Oh my gosh. It's morning. Sorry. Starting running back was held for 49 yards on 11 attempts. So, and then through the air, Brody Wagsness was just about 50% through the air. 17 for 25. I guess 17 times 2 is 34. So yeah, not almost 50%. Gosh, I'm really struggling today. Yeah, 17 for 25, 157 yards, and no touchdowns. Their leading receiver had 5 receptions, 52 yards, no touchdowns, and their leading tackler on defense was 7 tackles. So overall, just like it says here, we had 4 passing attempts, no completions. So we didn't throw the ball. And we honestly didn't really need to because Trayton Sauerbrei just kind of took care of the rest. So, yeah, I really don't know what to say because we didn't have any receiving yards, had no touchdowns through the air. Everything that we did came on the ground. So we did have a 60-yard rushing touchdown though, so that's good. But yeah, you just look at the receiver column and it's just a bunch of zeros because there's nothing there. Wapsie did have 53 total tackles to North Butler's 35 and a half. And then they also had 29 solo tackles to 24 solo tackles. They had 3 sacks compared to North Butler's 0. They had 7 tackles for loss compared to North Butler's 1. And they had 1 fumble recovery to North Butler's 0. So they also had 2 interceptions. So Wapsie did. So overall, a great defensive showing from Wapsie Valley. They played great defense. Obviously, didn't score, or North Butler didn't score, and Wapsie played 2 interceptions, had a fumble recovery, 3 sacks, had I think like 4 tackles for loss, maybe something like that. 7 tackles for loss. So pretty good there. We come back home to play North Tama, and that game, like I said last week, North Butler has historically been really good the last like 5-6 years. As of the last 2 years, they have not been pretty good. They have not been good. They've kind of been mediocre, 500, whatever you want to call it. But that doesn't mean Wapsie is just gonna coast through this game. Wapsie is just as 500 as North Tama is. So Wapsie's 3-1. North Tama is 2-2. So only a 1 game difference there in the records, and obviously records don't really mean much of anything. But overall, on the year, from past experiences of watching North Tama and Wapsie Valley, North Tama has kind of gotten the better of Wapsie Valley. Probably like the last 5-6 years. I'm gonna look at it real quick. I'm gonna give you the preview here. So, on the year, their quarterback, Colt Kanak, I believe that's how you say it, he's a junior. He has 44 for 72, 600 passing yards, 5 passing touchdowns for 222 rushing yards, and 3 rushing touchdowns. So he's kind of just Kanan Decker, but they throw the ball more. That's kind of it. He's also their leading rusher. 55 attempts, 222 yards, 3 touchdowns. Now, Trayton Sauerbrei has more yards, more touchdowns, in less attempts. And probably because he's actually a running back. Cole Kanak is a quarterback. So, for a quarterback to be their leading rusher shows that they really don't have a run game. Receiving wise, they have more receptions for more yards and more touchdowns. Josh Dostal Jr. He has more receptions, 11-4 over Ian Bazinski, as I'm talking about here. And honestly, you're going to look at that and say, well, we don't throw the ball much. And you'd be correct. We don't throw the ball much. That's just not who Wapsie is. Even though we have thrown the ball a lot in the past few years with Casey O'Donnell and Kobe Reese being here, with like that Kobe Blake connection we talked about. That was just a fun time to be alive. But with Casey O'Donnell, even then, we didn't really throw the ball as much as we did with Kobe, and now it's just like we don't even really throw the ball that much, even with Kanan Decker. So you're kind of going to have to find your way there. And then on defense, Jake Shore, I should say, not Jacob, Jake Shore, a senior, he has 22 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks on the year. And then Gavin Roush, hoping I'm pronouncing that right, he's a junior. He has 37.5 tackles for 4 tackles for losses, 0 sacks. So, North Tama throws the ball more. We run the ball more. They have more passing yards. We have more rushing yards. They're going to have more touchdowns through the air. We're going to have more touchdowns on the ground. They're also going to have more interceptions based off those stats. They have 5. We have 2. So, Wapsie has been good at taking care of the ball, and that's going to be needed in this game because based off of how North Tama has they're averaging over an interception per game. So we need to be able to take care of the ball because we know most likely North Tama's probably going to run into something that's going to give us a turnover. Whether that be a fumble, whether that be an interception, whether that be something of the sort. We need to be able to take care of the ball. That's the first thing I see from these stats. Is we need to be able to not fumble, not make any bad decisions throwing the ball if we are going to throw the ball more than what we have been doing. So, yeah, just by looking at it, take care of the ball, do what you do best, which is run the ball behind this good offensive line, and we're really waiting to see it, and I feel like we're still waiting. And maybe I'm gonna say this the whole year and feel like we're still waiting and still waiting and still waiting. Wapsie just needs to show that they can blow somebody out, and this is the game where they need to show it. And I said this during the Southwind game. I said it before the North Butler game. I've said it now. We need to have the confidence to go out there and just blow somebody out because we need to show ourselves that we can score 50 points a game against a team that's almost has the same record that we do. And that'll help us a lot. We just need to have a good functioning offense, which we do. We have a really good offense and we have a really good defense. Cody Jones is a good defensive coordinator. He's shown that since, like we always say, the beginning of time. The defense is going to be good, and the defense is going to be able to get you turnovers if North Tama lives up to what they've been doing the last few weeks, and that's throwing an interception per game. So we just need to be ready for it. And I think we are. And I think this coaching staff is ready for it. So this has to be the game where we see the full potential of this Wapsie Valley football team. And if it isn't, then we're still waiting. And I really hope we see it because I know what they're capable of and I know what they can do, and it's a lot. And like Coach Foster said, they have a real chance of going to the Dome this year. And I feel like us Wapsie fans and pretty much any high school football fans, they say this every year. You know, we have a really good shot of going to the Dome this year, but this is probably as good of a chance as we're gonna have over the next few years. Like we have a real shot of contending in the playoffs. We almost made it to the Dome last year. We almost beat the number one team in the state last year at that time period, which was West Hancock. And we almost beat them. We honestly probably should have beat them. But moving on. We're out of the varsity world. We're going to move into some of the younger kids. JV football played last night against Applington Parkersburg. That game was something else. Yeah. How do I want to put this? So, AP went up 20-0 at halftime. It was 20-0 AP at half. It almost looked like we were about to be for an embarrassing ride home on the bus. But Wapsie then made some few adjustments, changed some people up front, and then started scoring. And they scored 8. They got the 2-point conversion. Now it's 20-8. There's still some time left in the third quarter. We get a stop. Great fumble on the punt. Wapsie blocks it. I don't know if he even really tried to kick it. They just kind of got the ball in the fumbled punt. And then we had a short field. We go down and score. So now it's 20-16. And it's looking like Wapsie has a real shot at taking this game home. So we had to, in the fourth quarter, Wapsie did not have the ball. Applington Parkersburg kind of drove down, but we got the ball back. We went on a 3-and-out, punt the ball. AP has the ball. They run more and more time off the clock. Wapsie gets the ball back. There's about 2 minutes left. And Wapsie does their 2-minute drive. They run down the field. They get to about the 10-yard line, maybe the 10 to 15-yard line. And then Wapsie fumbles on the 12, 13-yard line. And that was that. That was kind of it. Then AP kind of just did their offense. They kind of got a first down, and then that was kind of the game. So, yeah, as of late, this JV team's had a lot of turnovers. We've had a few interceptions. We had fumbles. It happened in the Dyke game. That's kind of how we lost the Dyke game. It was like 4 turnovers, I think, or something crazy like that. So, and then now with having 2 turnovers here, with the interception in the first quarter, and then the fumble in the fourth quarter. So, and it almost could have been like 3 or 4. There was some more passes that honestly had a real shot at being intercepted, but goodness gracious, they didn't. So yeah, we're looking at this team, and um, they have played well. The offensive line has played well. Receivers have played well. Our running game has been strong. Our passing game has been strong, but we turn the ball over too much, and that's cost us 2 games now with Dyke and AP. So we need to take care of the ball more. It's kind of the same as varsity. Just take care of the ball. You can't be turning the ball over. It's going to cost you games, and it does, because we've lost the last 2 because we've been turning the ball over. So if we just don't turn the ball over, we'd be fine. So that's kind of just something that we're going to look at. Just don't turn the ball over. And then on the freshman side of things, yes, I'm getting into freshman football because it was a electric game against Dyke last Thursday. Wapsie Valley freshmen. So basically the freshman class has played Dyke the last 3 years. Freshman, 8th, 7th. All 3 years, it's been a phenomenal game. 7th grade game came down to the wire. That one came down to almost a last-second touchdown that got called back. The 8th grade game came down to an onside kick that was muffed by Wapsie Valley. Dyke got the ball back in, and Wapsie got a game-winning interception when Dyke was driving down the field. And then this past Thursday, the freshman game here, this was back at home, and it was back and forth. It would kind of be like Wapsie would score, Dyke would score. Wapsie would score, Denver or Dyke turnover. Why did I call him Denver? Dyke turnover. Wapsie would score. We'd feel like, okay, this is the point. We got to take the lead. We got to keep running with it. And then Dyke would slowly but surely come back. They'd come back. And then you get to the fourth quarter, and it's almost tied. And it's a one-score game. It's been a one-score game the whole game. So you cannot make any mistakes. And finally, with like a minute left, Wapsie punches it in. They go up. They go up by 8. And that was kind of it. Dyke had a turnover. Wapsie got the ball back, and then Wapsie kneeled, and that was that. So, I mean, it was a really good game, and it was a back-and-forth game. And it's been like that for the last 3 years. So, unfortunately, we're probably not really going to play Dyke when we get to the varsity level, which is a shame because I bet you it'd be a great game. But, yeah, it stinks because that's probably the last time we're going to play them. Maybe next year we'll play them for JV, but yeah, it's a shame that we won't get to play Dyke when we get into our varsity years. So, I don't really have much else. I knew this was going to be kind of a shorter episode today because of the fact that Riker's not here. Usually I'd go through some trivia, we'd have some segments, some questions, whatever. That'd kind of take up time. But that's kind of it for us. For me, I should say, here on the Talk the Tribe podcast. I will go through my screen time just for the fans out there. Also, there will be a Q&A question in the description of this episode. I knew this was kind of going to happen, and I was really hoping that some of you guys asked the questions on the last one where I just put it in there and didn't tell anybody, but that didn't happen. So there is a question or Q&A kind of thing in the description of this episode 12. There's also one in the description of episode 11. Ask some questions, ask some topics that you want to see us talk about in future episodes. Just ask the questions. We will answer them. We will answer through every single one if we deem they are Wapsie related, and they will be talked about here in episode 13 or 14, maybe down the line there. But back to the screen time before I sign off here. Screen time for me today, or yesterday, I should say. Yesterday was 4 hours and 9 minutes for me. Yeah, 4 hours and 9 minutes. So, I think my phone died like halfway through the day because I forgot to charge it. But, yeah, there you go. 4 hours and 9 minutes from me. That's going to be all for us here in the Talk to Tribe podcast. I don't really have much else. We kind of went through everything. So, I guess Riker's not here to stay with me. But until next time, go Warriors.